Hey guys, Rudy here. So this video is going to be very different from what I normally post on my channel. Normally everything that I post is typically tech or gaming focused. This time around, I'm going to be focusing on content creators. So if you're a content creator, you've come to the right spot. A few weeks ago, I posted a community post on my YouTube channel asking other content creators what pieces of advice or information I could provide. And the reason why I'm trying to do this is to essentially pay it forward. I've read a bunch of books. I've paid a bunch of attention to podcasts that are out there. I've listened to podcasts. I've paid for courses, and I've tried to learn as much as I could about being a good content creator. Obviously, there are a lot of things that I've learned before even touching YouTube at all that I've implemented into the channel, and I'll go a little bit more about that as well. But I know that this video, chances are, is going to be a 10 out of 10 because my audience is typically focused on gaming content or tech gaming content. Like I do reviews on tech. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. So I wanted to go ahead and get everything that I have learned and just pay it forward and show you a little bit about what I've learned on my journey on YouTube. There are affiliate links in the description below that lead you to different resources that I've learned. Obviously, if you go through there, I'll get a kickback from that if you choose to buy something. This video isn't going to be made for audience retention or any sort of like retention hacks or whatever it may be. There aren't going to be a lot of cuts. There might be some ums or uhs that are cut out, but for the most part, I'm just going to talk to you just like a normal human being, and this is essentially a conversation. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I am going off of a loosely written script or bullet points that are here so that I can stay on top of everything, and I'll go a little bit about script writing later on in the video. So I'll go over some rough truths, some hard truths that I've learned through content creation, and like I said, my own journey is my own journey. What I've learned is that each and every single content creator that I've listened to or that I've met, that I've talked to through DMs or whatever it may be, every content creator has a different journey. Every content creator has different ways of going about it. Yes, there are specific formulas and techniques that you can use to create content, but as far as like the growth, the monetization, brand deals, and the community building that comes with that, everyone has a different trajectory. There are some people that grow overnight, and there are some people that have a slow and steady growth. For me, this channel has it's exceeded my expectations in so many ways, and I'll go a little bit about that later on. But some hard truths. First and foremost, when you start creating content, no one's going to care about your opinions. Nobody's going to watch your content at first. There might be some people that, trickle in and whatnot. And yes, like I said, there are outliers that they explode overnight. That is an outlier. The odds of that actually happening to you are pretty much slim to none. The reality is that is the exception to the rule, not the rule itself. The rule is that you have to, grind and do things continuously and build your audience slowly over time. It's just the way that it works. I do want to say that one of the comments that I've been getting a lot underneath my video, well, I don't say a lot, but like every once in a while I'll see it and it kind of hits home to me, is that people say, thank you so much for going straight into the content, or just thank you for, not wasting my time and going straight into it. Because at the end of the day, viewers, unless they're doing a YouTube membership thing or a Patreon support or whatever, where they're paying you to get exclusive content from you, the only way that they're paying is through their time. And for me, time is the one finite resource where once you spend it, it's gone. There are people that will go ahead and find ways to make more money, but once you spend time, no matter who you are in the world, once you spend it, it's done. There's no coming back from that. So I like to respect people's time, and I like to go straight into the content, and I don't like to, BS or put in a bunch of fluff in there just to make things happen. I do put sponsors in videos. That's something that I'll talk to about later on in this video. But I do also want to let you know that this video is sponsored by Autonomous, and here is a little bit about their Autonomous Desk. Creating content on YouTube requires a lot of time sitting in front of a computer. You're going to be editing, recording, and then editing photos in Photoshop for thumbnails. I also work from home for my day job, and on that same exact computer at that same exact desk. Overall, it's a lot for me. One of the things that I've discovered that helps me be better with being productive and also helping me with my overall posture is a standing desk. With the Smart Pro desk from Autonomous, I can reposition my desk so that it's ergonomically comfortable to create in and work in. Whether I'm sitting or standing, it's the best experience possible for me. If I'm starting to get drowsy while I'm sitting, then I stand up to wake myself up. If my feet start to get sore from standing too much, then I sit down so that I can work more comfortably. You can save up to 4 profile settings on the desk itself, so you can use it at whichever height you need depending on the situation that you're in. If you want to get the perfect height so that you're ergonomically comfortable while standing, you can do so. If you want the perfect height while sitting, you can do that as well. The options are endless. All in all, it leads towards a better experience while working. Use the link in the description to learn more about the Smart Desk Pro from Autonomous, as well as their other offerings. If you use that link, you will get a 3% discount. And thanks to Autonomous for sponsoring this video. Okay, now that some bills are paid, we can go ahead and get back into the content. I tried to be as respectful as possible of their time, and because of that, I think that more people are kind of coming back for that, but obviously everyone has their own way of doing things. I always found having an intro to be a waste of a viewer's time, so I just go straight into the content. There might be a little bit of relation in terms of like how I would use a piece of tech or use pretty much anything that I'm talking about in the video in my own personal life as a dad, a husband, and just a normal dude. I'm just a normal guy that just uses tech, and I have a passion for tech as is. I want to mention that this is a marathon. This is not a race. I know it sounds cliche, but that's the truth. You are going to have a long time. Like I said, I wasn't expecting to hit the amount of subscribers that I have right now at 14, 15 months for like years, literally years. I was not expecting to hit this much so quickly. Is the trajectory going to continue? I don't know. That's something that I can't control, and I'll go into that a little bit later on in the video. But when it comes down to it, we'll see what happens. So I just know that you have to show up, and you have to continue to show up and continue to build that audience that comes in for the content that you provide. And also being respectful of viewers' time, make sure that you provide content that provides value. I don't like to waste people's time. I like to at least bring something to the table. Credibility is something that is very scarce. If you're selling snake oil, people will go ahead and find out. They will smell that a mile away. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's just going to be the way that it is. Be honest. Just be as honest as you can be, because when it comes down to it, once you lose that credibility, it's gone. The stuff that's happening right now with some of the content creators on the internet, it's kind of saddens, it breaks my heart, because some of the people that were out there that I truly genuinely believed were good people from the outside looking in turned out to be not so good. So just be an honest person. One of the things is that when you're finding your niche, you have to know who your audience is, but you also have to know why they should be watching your content. These two things, who they are and why they should be watching your content, those are two things that should be in the forefront of any sort of content creation at all, whether it's video, whether it's text-based, whether it's music, whatever. You have to know who your audience is and why they should be interested in that. There's a couple of books that I'll talk about later on in the video, but one of the ones talks about the psychology of understanding who your ideal audience is, who your avatar is. And that's something that is extremely important, because once you start to understand that, which I'll be honest, I'm still figuring it out myself, but once you understand that, you'll start to kind of hone in a little bit more and understand what type of content will actually relate to them and just feel better overall. That's something that once it clicks, once you get it, it's awesome. And there's pieces of content that I've put out that have clicked and they've been great. And there's pieces of content that I've put out that have not clicked at all, that have been just a horrible, poop show. It's been pretty bad. So keep that in mind. Also, when it comes to branding, I don't think that branding's big at the beginning. I think that you're still kind of spinning your wheels, trying to kind of gain some form of traction and things like that. Branding is something that you could, build later on. Just don't wait too long. I'm actually in the middle of trying to figure out if I could hire a brand strategist or hire somebody that can help me, not a graphic designer, because a graphic designer will just take what you say and they'll just, regurgitate it out in an art form. Hiring a brand strategist will help figure out what type of brand you can build, not only around your content, but also around who you are as a person and the message that you want to portray. So that's a very long game sort of move. But at the beginning, when it comes to branding, you should just be focused on creating content. Don't worry too much about branding. Buy yourself like a pack on Creative Market or something, creativemarket.com. You can buy like branding packs or whatever, and just go from there. Pick something that looks nice, look at a color wheel online, see what is aesthetically pleasing in terms of matching colors, and just move on. Focus on creating awesome content. So one of the things that people have talked to me about is ideation. And for those of you that don't know, ideation is essentially coming up with ideas that make your videos. So everyone has a voice. I want to go ahead and be upfront with that. Like, there are videos that I've posted on products that have been released for months, sometimes years. And like, I just post it because I think that I have something to bring forward. I have my own voice, I have my own opinion, and I want to bring that forward. With the rise of AI, there's going to be a bunch of regurgitated content that is going to be used continuously over and over and over and over. Just try to go ahead and be as honest with yourself as possible. Yes, you can steal like an artist, and I'll talk a little bit about that later on as well. But, just be yourself. Have your own voice, bring in your own thoughts, and you'll be fine. Inspiration can come from anything, like literally anything. I have a Google Keep Note thing app on my phone where if I find or think of something, I will literally just jot it down, because the moment that that thought comes, that inspiration comes, it'll go away. I'm in my mid-30s. My memory sucks in comparison to how it was in my 20s or mid-20s or whatever, but it just jot it down, because the moment that inspiration comes, literally put it in a bottle, save it, and when it comes down time to actually create things, that's when you'll go ahead and pull it out and actually start creating content. Don't steal, like I said, don't steal. Like, you want to add your voice to things that are out there. So if you find inspiration from something, like if there are content creators that you watch that you're inspired by, yes, you can get an idea. Like, for instance, like reviewing the Steam Deck that's literally sitting right in front of me. The Steam Deck being reviewed is not a novel idea. Everybody has done it. But for me, I want to create something that has my own voice, my own thoughts and opinions on the piece of tech that's out there. Yes, there are some people that are going to be like, bro, the Steam Deck sucks. And there are going to be some people that are like, bro, the Steam Deck's awesome. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter as long as you're honest with yourself and you don't just, take somebody's review or somebody's video or whatever and just copy it word for word. I've seen that a lot with like Ryan Trahand. I've seen that a lot with Mr. Beast, like all these like huge creators that are successful at what they're doing. Other people are just copycat, like literally copying them, and they become copycats. They essentially become mimics. And that kind of just, if you do that, you're never going to be original, and you're always going to be known as the person that copies this other person. And eventually the internet's going to find out. So why don't do that, because then you're going to build an audience and they're going to feel kind of like, I don't know, just cheated on by creating content that literally is a carbon copy of somebody else's content. Take an idea that's there, make it your own. And I'll talk a little bit more about a book that talks about that. So monetization, this one's going to be a long one. You have to treat your channel like a business. And I know that that's not something that a lot of people want to hear. I know that there are some people that see this as like a form of expression, as a form of art. And yes, that is a thing that's there. You've seen my videos, and if you haven't, by all means, go ahead and watch some. I love getting like really, really good B-roll. I love getting good B-roll. And I love being able to control lighting so that I can pretty much accentuate the products that are here and the tech that I review in the best light possible. No pun intended on that. It's just that I really like getting that. I love camera work. I love cinematography in general. And I just like the idea of getting a really cool shot. That's the art side of things for me. The business side of things is you have to realize that brands, you're not going to pop up on the radar and they're going to be like, "Ooh, this is really cool. Like, I like this guy. I like their content. I want to go ahead and, send them products, or I want to go ahead and buy an ad slot with them." Like, that's not how it works. You have to actively chase and actively reach out to brands and say, "Hey, this is my audience. This is, what we do and what we talk about on the channel. I think that your product, service, whatever it is that you provide is perfect for this audience. And then from there, you can start negotiating numbers. It's just a lot of people, they think that those brands are going to they're going to go straight to them. That's not how it works. You have to go and actually get them. You have to follow a lead, so to speak. And one of the easiest ways to see what brands are out there that work with other content creators is by seeing what videos are sponsored by other content creators on your niche. If, you know, company X is actually sponsoring, you know, creator Y, then you're going to go ahead and be like, maybe I should reach out to company X and be like, we have a similar audience. Would you like to go ahead and you know, buy an ad slot or whatever it may be on my channel as well? And, you know, start the conversation like that. For those of you that don't know how to like reach out to these people, like go on LinkedIn, go onto their website. Chances are there's a marketing email, or if they don't have anything like that, just email support. Companies want to have their brand name in front of people as much as possible. The influencer marketing space or whatever is only growing. I mean, we're talking about, I think it's like 16 billion or something like that that's going into the creator economy. It's only growing. Now is the time to take advantage of it and make a name for yourself. Obviously, this is for people that want to go ahead and make a living doing this. If you are treating this like a hobby and you just want to have some fun and not really like think too much about the money side of things, don't even worry about it, because YouTube's AdSense system is brilliant. You can go ahead and create the content. YouTube will sell the ads and they'll put the ads in the video. You don't even have to worry about a thing. You don't even have to worry about calling or anything like that. Just a check's going to pop up magically in your well, if you're doing snail mail, it's going to come into your inbox or your mailbox, or if you're going to be doing a direct deposit, it'll just pop up there. The main ways to make money on YouTube, the first way that a lot of people make money is through AdSense, but there are other ways to make money even before you get monetized through AdSense or get added into the YouTube partnership program. You can make money through affiliates, and I know that a lot of people are like, oh, affiliates, blah, 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 but you really can go ahead and make money, especially around this time of year. Obviously, if you're starting a channel, you're going to want to go ahead and build that snowball that's there. And it's kind of like a flywheel approach. Like, it's going to be hard at first to get that ball rolling, but once it starts rolling, it just keeps on growing and growing and growing with less effort. Brand sponsorships are a thing. You can actually get a brand sponsorship below 1,000 subscribers. You can get a brand sponsorship whenever. You just have to have proof of concept, and you have to approach a brand and be like, hey, like, yes, I can provide an ad integration. I can also provide exposure on other platforms. I can do whatever needs to be done in order to create the content. And there are other legalities that are there, which I'll talk about later on. But that's another method. Merch is another avenue, and it is there to make money, but merch, you kind of have to be like a little bit more creative in terms of like the type of merch that you provide, but it is something that's there. But all of those things, they create like this big pie of like the revenue that your business, your channel makes over a month-to-month basis. Money is something that, like, on YouTube anyways, is something that fluctuates. So like any business, like if you pay attention to like the fintech world, if you pay attention to like the business world, you know that some quarters they are up, some quarters are down. It depends on the stock market, the economy, like a whole bunch of other things that are there. But the big thing to keep in mind is that you're not going to make a steady paycheck every single month. This is something that I think a lot of people have gotten used to simply because of the fact that they have traditional jobs where they go to work, they work 40, 50, 60 hours, and they get a paycheck at the end of the week or bi-weekly or monthly or whatever. And it says you made this much money, and it's always going to be this much money unless you get like a bonus or you work extra hours or whatever it may be. That's not how it is on YouTube when you're a content creator. This is a business. You have some months that are going to have much more revenue than others. That's just the name of the game. For example, in October, November, and December, your CPMs are typically higher than they are in January. And I'll go a little bit about that. So when you reach out to a sponsor, and you're actually going to go ahead and start initiating a conversation, there are, like I said, ways of like reaching out to them, but there are several ways to actually nail down a deal with them. And one of the most, I guess I would say the most common way of doing that is either a CPM deal or a straight up lump sum payment. So a CPM deal, for those of you that don't know, and I'm probably going to butcher this because the M in CPM is actually a French word, if I recall correctly, but it's cost per meal, and MILLE. I'm pretty sure it's not, that's not how it's pronounced, but correct me in the comments. And what that does is that you get paid a set dollar amount for every 1,000 views. typically that type of deal is set towards a term, and a term is a moment of time. So let's say 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever it may be. 30 days I think is pretty common, but what will happen is that if you publish it on day one, and between day 1 and day 30 you have 100,000 views and it's a $25 CPM, you're looking at $2,500. Some of those CPM deals do have a cap, which means that once it hits X amount of views, in this instance 100,000 views, it can't be monetized past that, even if it's within that 30-day term. Now, this is something that is completely unique to each and every single contract that's out there, or every other deal that's out there. Some companies, they'll have a specific thing and that's it. You have to go ahead and be okay with negotiating that. What they provide isn't set in stone. You can go ahead and negotiate things and be like, no, I want, $27 CPM or $30 CPM, and I want the term to be 60 days. Like, do it. Like, more power to you. Most of these companies, they're still figuring out how to get things done. Some companies are a little bit more experienced. Some companies literally say, you know what, I don't want to deal with this. I'm going to pay an agency and they're going to reach out to influencers for me. That's another, thing to keep an eye out for. So there's several ways of doing that. The lump sum payment is something that everybody kind of essentially dreams of, is that there's this company that's going to pop up and they're going to say, I want to go ahead and pay you, I don't know, like $6,000 to have an ad slot in 3 videos. That's a viable option. And most people are like, ooh, like this is great. I'm going to make $6,000 off of 3 videos. That's pretty much, I'm set for like a month. And some people are happy with that. Obviously there's pros and cons to that, because you are going to get a lump sum. But what happens if you have 3 videos, all 3 of these videos get 100,000 views, and if you had $25 CPM for each and every single video, you would have made more than $6,000. Like, you have a lot of things to consider when it comes to that. Something else that's common is a higher affiliate rate commission in comparison to just signing up. So like, most people, when they sign up for like an affiliate revenue system or commission system, it's typically around 1 to 3% on average, depending on how expensive things are. Sometimes they're a little bit more, like 5 to 7%. But when a company reaches out to you and they're offering an affiliate commission rate that's higher than the norm, it's typically around 15 to 20%. So that's something to take into consideration, depending on the type of product or whatever it is that you are that you're offering, or the ad integration that you're hosting or creating a piece of content for. Because if that converts, it's going to continue to pay out over a long extended period of time. Affiliate revenue is something that's a long game. Like, it's a very, very long game. But once that revenue is coming in because of the affiliate revenue, like, you're set. Also, when it comes to affiliate revenue, if you have like a software or even VPNs, like some of them, they will pay a recurring subscription revenue share. So if you have somebody that pays $100 for a VPN for a year, and you get a recurring resubscription or revenue or affiliate revenue that comes from that, you are going to get paid a portion of that $100 subscription each and every single time that the user subscribes to that VPN. That's something that a lot of content creators have used to continuously grow that revenue stream that's coming in. And this allows for predictable revenue, which is awesome, especially in the creator economy. Obviously, this depends on your audience. This depends on the type of content that you provide your audience, and whether or not there's a content market fit in terms of the content that you provide and the product that you're putting in there. So product market fit is also something to take into consideration. So there's a lot of things that comes with the affiliate side of things, but the main 3 are CPM, affiliate, lump sum. I will say that you need to read your contract. I am not a lawyer, not a lawyer at all, but if you don't understand your contract, put it in the ChatGPT, see if they can go ahead and provide something that is a little bit more understandable in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, it would be best to, and probably the only legitimate route that you should consider, is going straight to a lawyer and being like, hey, could you please help me understand this lawyer lingo that's here? With that being said, I did mention AI earlier in the video. A lot of people, a lot of content creators, you have to look out for the use of image and likeness in these contracts, because with the use of AI, not only for your face, but also your voice, there's so much data that is being put out there on the internet that all they really have to do is get an AI go ahead and grab your information, and boom, they can go ahead and just, create content using your image and your likeness, and you're set, they're set, excuse me, without paying you. So when you have that pop up in your contract, please make sure that you read it properly so that you aren't screwing yourself over in the long run. Yes, there are ways to license things out so that if you create a piece of content, there's a term license that you can create that talk to a lawyer. They will go ahead and create the paperwork for it. But let's say for 30 days, you can go ahead and allow a business to take your piece of content, put it on their website, put it on their YouTube channel, or whatever it may be, for a limited amount of time. At the end of that term, let's say 30 days, if they want to renew, they can at a discounted rate or the same rate, whatever it is you want. It's your business. But this is something that you need to go ahead and take into consideration. User-generated content is something that is huge, and a lot of a lot of companies that are out there want that from content creators. So this is something to also take into account. So I want to talk a little bit more about the content creation side of things. If you have any questions, by the way, about the monetization side of things, let me know in the comments below. I am going to be giving more resources in terms of where to go for some of this stuff. But for content creation, there is no one size fits all way of creating content. There are some people that say that, you should do it this way, where you're starting off with like the ideation and the thumbnail and title all at the beginning before even working on the video. And there's some people that are like, well, at least for me, like in the tech space, I can't think of a thumbnail and title that would represent what I genuinely feel about the product, because I think that being able to say, hey, this is awesome, or hey, this sucks, you shouldn't even look at it. I can't tell that unless I actually start recording content of the piece of tech or the product that's there, and formulating my ideas as I continue to use it. So there's a tit for tat for that. So obviously with ideation, you want to think of your thumbnail and title ahead of time if possible. But like I told you, it's there. When it comes to scripting, I use bullet points to talk about my ideas, and then I record segments to kind of support that. So I will, talk about, oh, I really like using the trackpads on my Steam Deck, which is not true. And then I'll go ahead and, use the trackpad, and I'll record myself using the trackpad. That's something that I record A-roll talking about it, going over my script, and then I will record B-roll to support that ideology. I also don't like to create word for word scripts. I use bullet points. I feel like you lose some of that natural tone when you're actually talking. I'm talking to you like I would talk to my friends. And you lose some of that when you're reading from a script. You lose some of that human nature. And I think being as human as possible, especially in this digital era, is something that, I don't know, it's important to me. I mean, whenever I'm watching a content creator and they're reading off of a script, it's kind of I don't know, just it's fake. They're not actors, and I'm not an actor, so I'm not going to pretend to be. But here, I'll read you my notes so you can see what I'm talking about. Scripting. I normally use bullet points to talk about my ideas and then record segments at a time of said bullet point. It's not the most efficient, but it works for me. Others prefer writing everything word for word, but I feel like you lose the natural tone of your human voice when you do. That's just me. Just do what works for you. See what I mean? I don't know. I don't see myself reading something word for word. It's just, it feels so fake. Maybe that's just me. I don't know, but that's just how I do it. Now, if you do want to go ahead and script things, there are teleprompters that are out there. Elgato just came with one recently that apparently is fantastic. At one point I was interested in getting that, but at this, now, no. I'm fine. I will go ahead and I'll continue doing my scripts and, doing my bullet points and so on and so forth. But if you're interested in that, do that. Like I said earlier, I love awesome B-roll. So I will, come up with the idea of the video, then I'll write a script with the ideas of things that are there, and then I will record my A-roll. And then once I'm done and I scrub through everything, I will look at the points where I talk about specific things, again, using trackpads as an example, and I'll jot down on my notes what it is specifically that I talked about and what I can foresee getting myself B-roll of, and that way I can add that into the video. So I'll get the B-roll that I need, and then from there I'll add that supporting whatever it is that I'm saying. It's something that might not be the best way of doing things, but it works for me. And this is something that, if everyone's creation process is different. So if it works for me and it might work for at least one other person out there, then I guess it's a win all around. So another thing to take into account is distribution. So earlier when I was saying that, you know, you kind of have to treat this as a business. If there's any business that is close to a YouTube channel in the traditional world, it would be a media company. And a media company needs to think of distribution and when they can go ahead and put specific things to be published or to be aired on television. When it comes to YouTube, the algorithm does a lot of the heavy lifting. And for example, let's say, and I've done this recently where I published a video at, I think it was like 11:30 at night. Most of my audience is not up at 11:30 at night my time. They're typically up around 9-10 a.m. my time. So what ends up happening is that if I publish a video at that time, there are some people on YouTube that will get a notification, probably the people that watch my channel as much as possible, and they'll be like, oh, he just published a video. Let me go ahead and watch it. While at the same time, there are some people that watch YouTube around 9 and 10 a.m. YouTube, the algorithm will go ahead and push out that notification around 9 and 10 a.m. And that's when that user will go ahead and find out that, oh, well, you know, here I am. There's this new piece of content that Rudy published. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like, there's going to, like, no matter what time you post, there is no perfect time. That people will find your content when they find your content. And there are tweaks that you can go ahead and use, but if you want to have the best chance for the most views, then yeah, you can go ahead and look at that and you can see what time your audience is typically on. There's a tab on the YouTube Studio that'll show you more or less what time people are on, or at least your audience is on the platform. So that's typically my content creation side of things. I want to talk about a couple of resources that I've used to learn as much as possible. First and foremost, I listen to podcasts like crazy. I love podcasts because I can do things that are that require my hands, and I can still listen to things. So I typically listen to podcasts when I'm driving, when I'm shopping, when I'm working out, running errands, like anything, or when I'm editing something that doesn't require me to listen to things. For the company that I work for, so I try to kind of, you know, keep things as chill as possible. But first and foremost, Colin and Samir is great for creative work or creative. They are more geared towards the storytelling side of content creation and kind of like just the more creative side of things. There's no other way to like look at it. Creator science is creative business, so that's more of like the business side of content creation. You have some content creators that have been on that podcast that have been guests, but you also have some people that are business owners that have, you know, multi-million-dollar companies that will go ahead and just talk about what it's like to get a multi-million-dollar business and how to grow or scale to that point. Obviously, it all depends on what it is that you're interested in, but there are some nuggets that are there as well. Jay does a really good job of taking a 2-3 hour podcast discussion and, you know, condensing it down to about 30-45 minutes on average. I absolutely love it because that means that I can go work out, I can do whatever it is that I need to do, and I will get all of the information, all of the useful information, or at least, you know, what he finds useful from that podcast and into my brain. Deep Dive Podcast by Ali Abdallah is great, but it's much more business, like way more business centric. There's also a lot of more psychology stuff on there as well. But there are some business tactics that I've learned through that podcast that I think is awesome and worth checking out. If you are brand new, like brand spanking new on YouTube, and in terms of like content creation as a whole, Nick Nimmin, Think Media. Those are the two channels / podcasts that I recommend. So Nick Nimmin, he had a podcast. I think it was some coffee break or something like that, where he like talked for like 10-15 minutes about a specific topic, but his channel is great too. And then Think Media, they have their own podcast, but they also have like a channel where they talk about specific things, whether it's, you know, there's a lot of like newbie stuff on there, but there's also like more advanced tips as well. You just have to kind of like search a little bit more for the advanced stuff. That's why I say it's more of like a basics thing. If you want to learn about brand sponsorships, if you want to learn about how to make money on any platform that is on social media as an influencer, quote unquote, Creative Wizard is the best. Justin Moore, he's awesome. He reached out to me, God, what was it? When I had like under 1,000 subscribers. And he taught me a couple of things that I have learned. Some I honestly think, like, I'm actually going to dive deeper into his course right now. But there's so many pieces of advice that are there in terms of like monetization, the lingo in terms of getting brands to essentially sponsor your content and so on and so forth. So if you want to go ahead and check that out, like that's the one resource that I think is awesome if you're interested in actually making money outside of, you know, AdSense, outside of YouTube memberships, Patreon, so on and so forth. You know, if you want actual brand deals, that's where you want to go ahead and go. So in terms of books, there are a couple of things that I want to go ahead and talk about, but if there is one book, one little tiny book that I would recommend above all else, it would be The YouTube Formula by Daryl Eves. This book is awesome. It not only covers the beginning of YouTube and kind of what led to where it is right now, because I think that that's really important to learn kind of where the platform came from, to learn kind of where it's heading. But it also teaches you, and this was published, I think, in like 2021, 2022, but like the information that's there is still relevant today. There's just so much information in terms of like what it means to be a content creator and how to create content that vibes with an audience, and how to pretty much just read that information, all the stuff in the analytics, and create educated decisions based off of those analytics to drive your channel forward. I cannot stress it enough. If there's one book out of all of this that I would recommend, The YouTube Formula by Daryl Eves is like without a doubt one of the best. So this next book is one that my dad gave me when I think I was a sophomore in college. It's called The E-Myth Revisited. This is probably one of the most businessy style books that I have that I recommend. But the reason why I love this is because as a content creator, once you go ahead and start growing your business, once you start growing your channel, you need to create systems that can help make the content creation process easier for you. So I know that, you know, as a creator, as a creative person, like systems just kind of, they create constraints, but some of the best things were created because of constraints. And I think that when you have a business that has, you know, I know that I have ideation, I know that I have script writing, I know that I have recording, and then I have editing, and I know the processes that go into that. Once you have all of that set up, and also the brand outreach, and you have the social media posting and all this and that, once you have all of that like figured out, write down the systems, and that way, as you continue to grow, you can, using Marquez Brownlee's MKBHD's analogy, you can cut off that octopus arm, and that way you have less to focus on yourself, and the person that you hired to do said job, they will know exactly what it is that you need to do. The book itself is written in the form of a story, in the form of baker, I think, that bakes pies. 100% worth reading. Like, it's awesome. This book is, I don't even know how old it is, but it is definitely worth it. Highly recommend it if you want to go ahead and learn how to scale your business and scale your channel into a direction that will allow you to free up more time and focus more on creating your content versus all of the other stuff that you have to do as a content creator. The next book, and actually it's 3 books, so Austin Kleon, he wrote Steal Like an Artist, and this was like forever ago. But the cool thing about this is that the subheading is 10 things nobody told you about being creative. This essentially shows you where to get inspiration, and it also shows you all of the patterns throughout history of creating content and creating art and where inspiration comes from. And it's definitely much more on like the creative side of things, but I genuinely think that this is something that every content creator should read because it's awesome. Show Your Work is another one from him. I don't know if this is in the right order in terms of like when they were actually published, but Show Your Work is 10 ways to share your creativity and get discovered. So this is more about building in public, which I feel like some of my videos are, because sometimes like for the Steam Deck, for instance, the Steam Deck was my first experience using Linux. I'm a Windows based user. I know a little bit about Mac because I had it in elementary school at one point, but At the end of the day, I'm a Windows PC user. So Linux to me was like a brand new thing. And I showed what I learned through the content that I was creating. And that vibed with some people. That helped create some of the audience that was there. Keep Going is another one that I think that is really good by Austin Kleon. 10 Ways to Stay Creative in Good Times and Bad. And this kind of goes with something... a question that I'm going to answer later on in this video from the community post. But long story short, you have to keep going. There are videos that are going to be bangers and there are videos that are going to suck. But just keep on going. So those three from Austin Kleon are on point. The next thing that I want to talk about is The Creative Act, A Way of Being. This is by Rick Rubin, and in the nicest way possible, this is a very kumbaya book. I mean, it takes content creation as a whole, and it definitely like drives a lot of like honestly really good advice, because it is very, very creative in the sense that like you are a content creator. You are creating art. What you are doing is something that no one else can do for you, and this is something that I gathered a lot of information from. In terms of like what to do. And it's very easy to read. Like a chapter is like 1 to 3 pages. So you're going to be like breezing through the book. Very, very easy to read. Highly recommend it. I'm actually in the middle of rereading it right now, just to kind of like remind myself of some of the creative aspects of things. But it's very kumbaya. There's not that much actionable advice in terms of like YouTubing, but it does a good job. Now, in terms of creating a brand, this is something that I mentioned earlier on, but primal branding. Whoa, almost lost my bookmark. Oof. Live Alive, by the way. Great game if you haven't gotten it. Primal branding is another one that talks about essentially brands that are out there that keep on bringing people back. This is something that I'm reading because the brand that I have currently right now, the whole cat and everything and video game discussions, has evolved and it's adapted. And I do plan on working with a brand strategist in the future in order to actually learn a little bit more about what it is to have a brand that represents where the channel is going, but also be able to evolve with the channel. So that's something to take into account. But if you want to learn about branding, then that's where you want to go ahead and go. Superfans by Pat Flynn is the final book that I want to go ahead and talk about. This is based off of an article that was published like forever ago about how you can have 1,000 true fans, and those are going to be the 1,000 true fans that will go ahead and essentially support you as a content creator. Right now, I don't know if Pat Flynn is still creating content for content creators, because that's kind of like what he was doing. He was part of Think Media at one point and then left and started doing his own thing, as far as I can tell. Correct me if I'm wrong. And now he's doing things with like Pokemon cards and whatnot, and that's like his new channel and whatnot. But the information that's here is really good in terms of creating a tribe, creating an audience, and finding those 1,000 true fans that will go ahead and support you as a content creator. This is something that I myself am still learning. I'm still figuring things out, but I go back to this book from time to time because I've highlighted a couple of things here and there to just remind myself that I am trying to build a community and an audience of people that just like tech and love tech as a whole. So those are the books that I recommend. There are several other books that are out there, but these are the ones that I've read that have impacted me personally the most. If you have any that you recommend, let me know in the comments, because I'm always up for reading a new book. I wanted to go ahead and mention Never Split the Difference is about negotiating. Long story short, FBI negotiator that negotiated all sorts of other things, wrote a book on negotiating. This is something that's really important if you're going to be going into business deals. Also, Purple Cow by Seth Godin. That's a marketing book that came out forever ago. Seth Godin is kind of like seen as like the marketing guru in the space. I majored in marketing in college. And then another book that I don't have, I let my brother-in-law borrow, is called Create Something Awesome by Roberto Blake. It's Create Something Awesome. It kind of like highlights like his story of like getting into content creation, but also he shares some of his trials and tribulations in becoming a content creator. He's been on the platform for, I believe, over a decade. He's been creating content for like a really long time, so he understands the platform very well. But he's a content creator for content creators. So if you're interested in that, buy the book. I'll have a link in the description, and go from there. A couple of tools that I want to go ahead and mention, TubeBuddy and vidIQ, both of them are very similar, and both of them have their own differentiating factors. At the beginning, and when I started on YouTube like 7 years ago, TubeBuddy, the cool thing about that was that it had A/B thumbnail testing. Right now, YouTube is slowly rolling out, it's A, B, C, because there's 3 thumbnails that they're doing on that, and it'll pick, YouTube will go ahead and pick which thumbnail is best based on watch time. If I remember correctly, TubeBuddy's, theirs was based off of click-through rate. So it really depends, but I know that like YouTube chose watch time because they wanted to go ahead and have thumbnails for videos that represented the content, that was inside the video better. So whatever has the most watch time, that's what will go ahead and get you whatever has the most watch time, that's the thumbnail that'll win. But I want to go ahead and say that it makes sense, because more watch time means more ads, means longer time on the platform, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of things that go into that. vidIQ, the cool thing I like about that, I haven't messed too much with it, but there's AI that's built into the platform, and I think that TubeBuddy is also trying to do some AI stuff as well. The cool thing with vidIQ is that there's like an ideation tool that's there based off of the content that's already on your channel, as well as some of the content that your audience is watching. There's also ways of like remixing titles that you can use to just make stuff better. So that's something to think about as well. And there's also, the usual stuff, like you can see channels that like your competitors, if you were to even call them that, and kind of like see where they're at in terms of like viewership and which videos are doing well, which videos are not, so on and so forth. It's a lot of like stuff that you pay for, but I don't know. I don't pay for it personally, but I have used it in the past, and it's pretty awesome. I think it's pretty cool. 1 of 10 is essentially, it's a culmination of thumbnails and videos that are there, but the reason why they're there is because that they are outliers in contrast to the rest of the content that is on the specific channel. So if you go on to 1 of 10, it's going to show you a bunch of thumbnails, and it'll show you more or less how many views they have in contrast to the rest of the content on their channel. So if you have a video that has 2 or 3 times more views than normal, that's how that ranks that. So if you have like an idea, a thumbnail, or a title that's just really vibing, you can look at that and be like, oh, this is like a cool idea. How can I go ahead and use that with my own voice to create my own content that is somewhat within that same hemisphere of said content inspiration? So that's something to take into consideration. Another thing that is really cool is called Creator Hooks. Creator Hooks, it's by this guy named Jake Thomas. Essentially, he took the idea of titles and was like, there's psychology behind this. You can use the psychology of title generation and use that to entice people to get the click. I was kind of skeptical about this at first, but I went ahead and said, you know what, let's try it out. There's a free newsletter that you can sign up for. I'll have a link in the description leading you to this website. And I tried it out, and it actually worked, which is kind of crazy, because like I thought that like some of my thumbnails were like really great, but I was blown away at like how like specific formulas that he's found for video ideas just vibe better with the thumbnail or the titles that he has over there. So that's something to take into consideration. If you are like, this is a somewhat expensive mic. The mic that I had before this one was like around $100. It was the Audio Technica AT2020, but you can start recording with just your cell phone. So if you find, I think on Amazon, there's one that's like $30-40. I'll link to it below. It's literally a lavalier mic, but it plugs straight into your cell phone, so you can record on that. And once you get that audio from your mic, you can plug it into Adobe Enhance AI, and I'll have a link in the description below for that as well, where it will upload the audio file into their servers, and their AI will go ahead and clean up the audio. It'll get rid of the echo. It'll get rid of any reverberation or reverb, and it'll just clean up the audio to make it sound better. Once it's done, you can download it and you can re-listen to it again. Sometimes it's perfect, sometimes it's a little wonky, depending on, if you wanted to get audio that was I don't know, just in the ambiance, like if you were, you know, recording something out in public and you wanted to get the crowd in the background in as part of that as well. But if you're in like a setting like this where you want to keep things as clean as possible, that's an option for you as well. And then I edit everything through DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve, I know everybody uses Adobe Premiere, but DaVinci Resolve is free, first off and foremost. There is a bit of a learning curve when it comes to it, but because it was free, I learned everything that I do in terms of editing on there. For those of you that don't know, DaVinci Resolve is the color grading mastery tool. Like, it's what Hollywood uses in order to color grade all of their videos, and it is awesome. It's free to use. If you want to pay for the paid version, I think it's like $200-300, and it's a one-time fee. And what it does is it unlocks a couple of features that are here, but for me personally, the biggest impact that it had was in render times. So when I'm rendering a video, it's typically, if I didn't have that studio feature, like it would only render using my CPU instead of my CPU and my GPU. And because of that, like it literally cut the time in half. Like it's so much better. You're gonna be able to pump out more content more frequently, and to me, the studio version just runs better in terms of my experience. Some of the questions that were asked on the community post, I'll go ahead and I'll answer now. How easy or hard has it been for you to break into a newer niche of gaming content, and how specifically have you broken into that new niche? So if you look, like I've only posted like 69, I think that this is going to be like the 70th video that's probably going to be on the channel. When I first started out, I was posting video game news content, and I thought that that was like the way to get in, but in reality, like I was using that to kind of like trend jack the system. There's different ways of like getting eyes on your channel, and that was one of the ways. Like I was like, okay, let me go ahead and start pumping out news content because this is stuff that people are looking for, and I know that I can grow based off of that a little bit faster than I could if I was just posting, well, opinion-based stuff. It really wasn't until I posted a Nintendo Switch 2 leak or something like that, that I think I got like 20,000 views or something like that very quickly. And I got a lot of subscribers from that. And I was like, okay, like I'm starting to gain traction from this. I posted a few other like news pieces, and then I went ahead and posted the Nintendo Switch 1 year later review. And that got like, I don't even know how many thousands of views within like the first month and a half. And that's pretty much the video that took me into monetization. It really wasn't like anything groundbreaking by any means, but it is something that pushed the trajectory of my channel from going from, you know, doing news and opinionated pieces into actually doing tech reviews and doing reviews that I found interesting on pieces that I found interesting, and tech that I found interesting. If you are creating gaming content where you're literally just playing video games, you need to find a way to create value that is not focused on you, that is something that is based off of curiosity or fear or just contrarian ideology. Like, you know, if somebody's like, have you seen videos of people that have been like, well, I beat Elden Ring on a level 1, or like the Let Me Solo Her dude that did, oh my God, what's her name? I literally have her statue right over here. But, you know, the Let Me Solo Her dude from, was it Millennia the Blade of Mikolai, if I remember. I mean, I heard it so many times. But yeah, so that's kind of like an idea of just getting something that is completely unique, completely different. Most of the time that's skill-based. Like I saw a video online that was like of doing a pacifist route on Hitman, on the latest Hitman. Like that's stuff that is contrarian, because you're like, Hitman, I'm supposed to kill people, but I'm doing a pacifist run, what? And that's kind of like the curiosity. It's like, how the heck does this even work? In the tech space, there's different ways of like doing that as well, but based off of like research, most of the stuff that is popular right now is AI stuff. I personally don't think that it's worth doing popular stuff. That's just me. I would rather focus on things that are interesting to me, because if I'm not interested in something, if I'm not, you know, excited to talk about something, then it doesn't matter. So that's just me. In terms of like breaking into the new niche, you need to learn anything and everything about what it is in that niche. What is it that's making it its own thing? Be a part of the community, learn the lingo, and become a part of that so that you can create content for that avatar, that audience that is interested in said topic. How do you come up with your ideas and titles? They're really good. Also, one more, how do you stay motivated to keep pushing out content? So the whole title and idea thing, I have a list of ideas. I think Steal Like an Artist. Either Steal Like an Artist or Keep Going. They talk about the Austin Kleon talks about the ways to stay creative, and he's like, inspiration pretty much comes when you never expect it. So that's kind of why I have my keep note thing from Google like in my phone, because I will literally come up with an idea, or like I'll see something, I'm like, oh, like this is a really cool thing. It reminds me of this thing that I saw. Maybe I can create a video on it. Like I literally have, I don't know if you can see it, but there's like a 3D printer right here. And like, I need to clean up my shelves. I have a bunch of video games and stuff over there, but I want to go ahead and create a video about 3D printing and how that can essentially elevate your gaming experience on these handhelds that I've been reviewing. That's something that's there. Obviously, you know, it's hard at first, but creativity, just like any muscle that's out there, like once you start using it, it'll continue to become better, and you'll get used to that essentially. It's something that I think you need to practice at, but once you get into it, like you'll be good. You'll be good. In terms of titles, typically I try to stick to curiosity based. I try not to do too many fear based things, because I feel like I don't want YouTube to be like this fear-based like mongrel platform. I want to drive conversation. And then there's also contrarian. So sometimes I might do stuff like that, but a lot of that is based off of creator hooks. So I'll take a formula that's from there, and then I'll go ahead and try to put in my own stuff. 9 times out of 10, if I'm honest with you, I will go ahead and create the title based off of like an idea that I have. And then if I don't see that it's doing well in terms of like views in contrast to like the rest of my channel, that's when I'll go to creator hooks and be like, you know what, let me pull this out and put that in there. There are some videos that are out there where, you know, I'm doing like an updated review on like a piece of tech or a piece of content that a piece of gaming hardware that I've already had in the past. And that's when I'll like be like, okay, well, I can take this idea and this formula that I have from here and apply it onto this, because I already know that this is an updated review. It's not an actual review. So it's, you know, kind of easier to do in that sense. In terms of like, how do you stay motivated to keep pushing out content? You know, I feel like this is a tough one, because you have to essentially believe that you're going to be successful without actually being successful, especially when you're first starting out. Because no one's going to be watching your content. Even now, like I can put, like I've published 10 out of 10s. This video will probably be a 10 out of 10. And if you're here at this point, what are we at? I don't even know how long it's been. But if you're here at this point, let me know what the timestamp is, because it'll at least mean that you're here. So that's awesome. And I appreciate you for spending time with me. But at the end of the day, like, you are going to put out ideas. It's a constant experimentation. You're going to put out videos, and they might do well, they might not. And sometimes it takes a while for YouTube to be like, oh, this video didn't actually perform well with you know, the subscriber base that this person has or this channel has, but I found this audience that's over here, and I started showing them some of this piece of content, and it's doing really well. These people really dig it. It happens where sometimes I'll get a video and there'll just be a resurgence of viewership that happens, and the video will be, you know, months, if not, you know, a year old, because you know, this channel is pretty young, but that's just how it works. And I try to learn from my failures. Like, that's just, I'm human, but I also have to detach myself from the content that I create, in the sense that, like, I am creating something for a viewer, and if the viewer doesn't vibe for it, that's, you know, I don't try to take it personally, because that piece of content that's there, it might do well, it might not do well, but that doesn't reflect on who I am as a person. That just means that that piece of content did not do well in front of the audience's eyes. The algorithm, by the way, you shouldn't blame the algorithm. The algorithm is there to satisfy the viewer. If, you know, it starts to show your piece of content and no one's really vibing with it, why would the algorithm go ahead and continue to push out your content and lead towards dissatisfied viewers? Because if it shows it to people and people don't watch it, then that means that there's a higher chance of them leaving the platform as a whole to do something else in their lives. But if the viewer is satisfied, then the algorithm will look at it and be like, okay, so if I don't know, if Tommy went ahead and was satisfied with this, his friend, who is Fred, will probably go ahead and be satisfied with this too. So let me show this piece of content to Fred. And the algorithm's like, oh, Fred actually enjoyed this, so let me show this to Sarah. And, you know, they're kind of similar in terms of like their interests. Let's show it to Sarah. And, you know, that's how it keeps on going. So you have to make sure that your content provides as much value as possible, which is what I'm trying to do with this video, is try and provide as much value as I can for content creators that are out there that are in the middle of creating content. But that's how it works. Sometimes it might work, sometimes it might not. And you can't take it personally, but you can take that as an opportunity to learn and to grow. I think it was like Alfred in the Batman trilogy films, where he was like, and I'm probably gonna butcher this, where he's like, I think that, or what was it? People fall. Why do people fall, Master Bruce? And he was like, so that people can learn to get back up. And like, that's the truth. We're going to fail as content creators from time to time. Just got to keep on going. Another quote from like Ted Lasso is like, be a goldfish. But I wouldn't say be a goldfish, just learn and then move on. All right, so how do I stay relevant to the content onslaught of new things that by the time I'm able to get my hands on, it's already no longer trending or just simply out of reach for someone starting out or with a really small channel? So I will go back to the first piece of content that really took off on my channel, was reviewing the Nintendo Switch OLED 1 year later. Like, people like to go ahead and assume that, yes, the only rush that you're going to get in terms of viewership is actually at the beginning of the release of the content. But in reality, it's a double-edged sword. I like this interview by Mr. Who's the Boss that was, I think it was on either Colin and Samir or like one of the other like podcasts that I listed. And he said we could either be, you know, the first that are out there, which typically is, you know, first and dirty is, I think what he said, where it was like so fast and you create content so quickly or review so fast that it's just dirty. And you're going to get that first initial wave of views, or you can create the best review out there possible. Now, obviously that's, you know, in the tech space, and I feel like this is more of like a tech focused question or a product review focused question. And this is really hard to do when you're reviewing video games. Also, getting into the stratosphere of creating content for video games is very difficult to do. But when it comes to tech, like, some people, you know, it's like, okay, I've had this for a month. This is my opinion after having it for a month. And you know, the experience that I've had, because there's this honeymoon phase when it comes to tech anyways. So you have to kind of take that into account. Even, you know, tech reviewers that get pieces of tech before release, like a pre-production model, even then, like, they might have like a week or 2 weeks to test something out and really like get used to it. Even then, you know, there's still kind of like this honeymoon phase that you have to go over. This is partly why I want to do like a 6-month review update, 5-6 month review update for each and every single piece of tech that I have that I continuously play on. This is something that you should probably take into consideration as well, is that like sometimes people are still going to be interested in pieces of tech, even, you know, way after something is released. So there's that, and how to pick and refine a niche without painting yourself, or I'm guessing that's putting yourself in a corner. This piece of content right now that I'm creating has nothing to do with the content that I normally create. This is like, most of the stuff that I create is literally tech and like gaming stuff. And like, here I am talking to other content creators and showing viewers of the channel a little behind the scenes look of like how it is that I actually create stuff. Dude, create something. Obviously, like, you have your avatar, you have your main audience that you want to go and focus on and pay attention to, but that's it. After that, like, you know, if you want to create something outside of that, be prepared. Like, I am prepared for this to be a 10 out of 10 on my channel. Be prepared that that is going to happen, and don't take it personally when it does happen. In terms of like putting yourself in a corner, and like, if you want to get out of a corner, like, you can pivot a channel. Just expect that there's going to be a little bit of a downfall, that there's going to be people that are going to unsubscribe, that your viewership's going to drop. That's just how it is. That's how things happen normally. Any tips on overcoming writer's block? There was a tip that I picked up, but essentially go touch some grass. Literally go touch some grass. Like, drink some water, get some sunlight, go outside, go for a walk, do things to get your mind off of it. Because the moment that you get your mind off of it, that's typically when inspiration typically strikes. And from there, you can go ahead and you know, move forward in whatever it is that you're doing. So yeah, go touch some grass. We're all plants, guys. Like, just go out, water, sun, get some exercise. How do you decide on what to do a video on next? Guys, like, yeah, you can see it. There's like a ton of stuff that are here. And there's a ton of stuff over here. There's a ton of stuff down here. Like, I have a bunch of like video ideas that I have a bunch of videos that I've been wanting to do. Finding the time to do it is the difficult thing for me, and that's something that I'm going to focus on 2024. But the whole idea with that is that you want to have a bank of video titles, and like the whole like video ideation part of it is like literally me kind of just like being like, oh, this would be a really good idea, and jotting down just like the video idea, not necessarily like an optimized title or anything like that. Like, I know that I want to go ahead and do an updated review on the Legion Go. I know that I want to do an updated review on the ROG Ally. I know that I want to do a review on the RG35XX Plus that just came out, like, I think a week ago, 2 weeks ago at this point. I've had it here. I've been playing with it, but I want to do that once I actually have all my thoughts and opinions already formulated. So that's just something that's there. Like, you can write down an idea, and there are some ideas that will probably never see the light of day. It's literally focusing on one specific thing and then, you know, branching out from that. Ali Abdaal has like a really good analogy when it comes to that. It's just like every video is a listicle. Like, you literally, like, you will have one topic. Can you think of 3 things to talk about when it comes to that topic? Like, for this instance, or for this video, for instance, I literally have, let me see. Before I started talking about my resources, I had 7 different things that I wanted to go ahead and talk about. And then underneath that, I had at least 3 bullet points on each and every single thing. And here I have 6 questions that I'm covering. So in terms of like how to do it, like, you're like, okay, I want to talk about the RG35XX. What are the main things that you want to talk about? I want to talk about the portability, I want to talk about the battery life, and I want to talk about the screen. Cool, awesome. Actually, I would probably want to talk about the emulation as well. Awesome, those are 4 things. Now let's go ahead and talk about, the different subsections of that. What are the things that you love? What are the things that you hate about each and every single aspect that's there? Boom, you got a script already said and done. Like, that's, I don't want to say that it's easy, because it's not. I want to articulate and like get as much data as possible. I want to provide as much value as I can for my viewers. But when it comes down to it, I want this to be the best thing possible. When you're creating content, put value before everything else. I kid you not, just put value before everything else. Oh, this one. So this is a comment that I got underneath that post. They said, I don't know who you are, but your latest channel, literally, I'm guessing that they meant views. I don't know who you are, but your latest video literally has 182 views in 2 days. At the time of this comment, I wouldn't call it a successful channel like you made it out to be in this post. YouTube algorithm gone crazy. Again, recommending me weird stuff in my feed, or in feed. I don't know. So this is what I mean in terms of like having some content that does well and some that doesn't. But also, just because one video is doing poorly does not mean that the other catalog of videos in your library is doing poorly as well. Yes, having that initial push when you publish a video that does really well at its beginning will go ahead and bring not only new viewership on whatever topic it is that you're talking about, but you'll also have returning viewership, and the new viewers that may have discovered you because of the topic that you're talking about will go ahead and be like, what else does this content creator have? This is why it's important to have a niche, or have like an ideal audience that you're creating content for, because when they go back into your library and they see everything else that you've created, that's when they're like, oh wow, like, I really like this person. They're creating awesome content. This person literally saw a post and literally went to my last video that I posted, which at the time was a video that even now, I'm pretty sure it's still a 10 out of 10. It was from a sponsor that wanted to go ahead and literally sponsor the channel and said, hey, I want to go ahead and have a review video done. I told them, dude, the review video is not going to do well, but they paid. And I was like, okay, I'll try to go ahead and, you know, do this. it flatlined entirely, which is a lesson for me. What I've learned from that is that next year, 2024, next year, what I'm going to do is take literally no sponsorships like that where they want a review video done. It doesn't make sense. I would rather do ad integrations and insertions where it's like, hey, my main topic is going to be about the Steam Deck, but here is a product that is focused on the Steam Deck that you might be interested in. But that's about it. I don't want to do any more like video reviews because it doesn't work out in my favor. And it definitely doesn't help the audience either. So that's a lesson that I learned, but that's also something that like, you kind of have to, there's going to be failures. There's going to be instances where things don't work well. So guys, I don't know how long this video has been going on, but I do appreciate trying. What are we at? We are currently at 1 hour. All right, cool. 1 hour and change. So yeah, guys, listen, I appreciate your time. If you're here at this point, let me know. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. I am going to be doing more of this stuff in a side channel that I have called Baldy Rudy Plus, where I will be showing more of like the ins and outs of the content creation side of things, but also kind of like things that just don't fit in the Baldy Rudy verse, just more of like me in a natural way of talking and not going off of like a huge lengthy script or anything like that. So if you want to go ahead and follow and subscribe to that, links in the description below, and I will see you over there. If I don't see you over there, hey, that's okay. Stick around. I have plenty of stuff to go ahead and talk about, and let me know if you have any questions about content creation and stuff like that. But until next time, guys, see you on the next one. Peace.